欢迎收听 KHNC 广播台 Bucky 早安秀，大家的早安广播，谢谢。
What's up, guys? Good morning. Bucky Dillon here. Excited to be with you. Feeling great. Been using my CBD products, so there's a little spring in my step. I'm feeling all right. I am right here live in the studio, beautiful Johnstown, Colorado, hanging out with you guys, my friends, the KHNC audience, and anyone tuning in worldwide on the radio broadcast through the website 1360khnc.com. This is the Bucky Dillon Show. Guys, so one of the things that we're doing to become more involved and kind of have a larger impact in our community and the culture more broadly is we've introduced a blog page on the website. And then, you know, we've been collecting a variety of writers who write on all kinds of different topics, whether it's politics or history or the cutting edges of technology and innovations. And there's some really cool stuff on the blog page. I'm checking it out, 1360khnc.com. You can check out the shop. You can check out the podcast. You can hear the past episodes of the Bucky Dillon Show, as well as our many other hosts. But you can also check out this blog page. And I was intending to do just a regular political show, right? Talk about what's going on in Congress. What's going on today is Donald Trump's impeachment, right? So far as I've heard, right? In the trial in the Senate. People are talking about the Super Bowl. Man, I didn't watch the Super Bowl. I think I've seen a couple Super Bowls in my life. I've never watched football or any sport, really. Sometimes I check out the UFC fights. I watched Mike Tyson's fight. Hey, looks like we have a caller. I'm going to put the caller on the air. Hey, how you doing today?
Hi. Good. How are you?
Good. How are you, man?
Oh, fine. Just cruising into work.
Who am I speaking with?
This would be Bill.
Bill, great to hear from you, pal.
Thank you. I woke up this morning. My alarm clock was going off. I heard you giving me a shout out, so I figured I better give you a call.
Yeah, I know you tried to get a hold of me, and there's been spotty connection here, but yeah, I'm glad to touch base with you. What's on your mind?
Oh, I was thinking about your stance on the rebel flag, and you know how most people tend to tie it to slavery, and I understand that. I'm wondering, how do we get people to focus on the real issue of the fact that the federal government has been trying to enslave all of us through economic means for a long time?
Yeah, absolutely. And I definitely understand that there is a broader context to the flag, and that, you know, a lot of people have genuine reasons for supporting it. I think my larger case isn't, you know, I really do wish that people had more of an interest in educating themselves about the history of this country, especially in those economic concerns, because there is financial interests that have been working diligently to achieve that economic slavery that you're talking about. And I absolutely understand that there is there is more issues to what happened in the Civil War, particularly those economic issues, than just slavery. I mean, Abraham Lincoln himself said that if he could unify the country without freeing the slaves, that he would have done it. And I believe there's quotes by General Lee saying that he wished he would rather free all the slaves in the South than go to war with the North. I mean, there was definitely other factors at play. And I wish people had a better understanding of that context and a better understanding of history. But the way I see it is, there's a reason why the New York Times and the Washington Post and CNN all used during the Capitol whatever you want to call it, storming on the 6th, they all put out photos of that guy waving the Confederate flag. Why? Because they know that would be the most damaging to the opponents of the Democratic Party. And
I
think,
I understand it's very inflammatory in terms of a symbol. I myself also wish that people would educate themselves more so on history. I think that would be the best thing for our country and the world, really.
Yeah, and I don't think that we should bury all the symbols of our history at all. I just think that right now we have serious political battles to wage, and when symbols like that are used to discredit the opposition of some of the more nefarious actors, I think it's a big problem. I think we should try very, very hard to think about the optics, because the truth is the vast majority of this country is not going to look up the historical context. I mean, that's pretty obvious.
Well, I have a question for you. How do we get some of these so-called liberals to start waving Nazi flags? Because that's really what they're after.
Right. And, I worked as a journalist filming protests for a kind of an activist group here in Colorado. And I've been down in Denver filming some of these Antifa rallies. There was one earlier this summer that was called the BLM Antifa Soup Drive. And the picture on their posters was a can of soup flying through the air with a trail of sparkles and rainbows behind it. And the premise was that they were going to gather to protest a Patriot Trump rally that was going on in Denver. And they were using the guise of a soup drive to convince people to come bring, just donate as many cans of soup as possible so that they could feed the homeless at the Capitol Park there. And although I saw a few, like a handful of people, eating some food, the vast majority of it was a bunch of wannabe Antifa stormtrooper LARPers holding cans of soup and threatening to hurl them at the police and at Trump supporters. So
fantastic.
They were actively waving communist flags, and the problem is most people aren't as offended by the communist flag as they are by
Triangle Cross Ranch, 36049 County Road.
That is a problem.
PO Box 727, Gailton, Colorado 80622. Needs sponsors for the holidays to adopt a house of God's children. They need holiday-spirited friends to help bring Christian blessings to the home, because home away from home is what COVID has brought this year. Call Triangle Cross Ranch, 970-454-2219. Blessings to KHNC and its family.
How long you gonna stay?
Have you always wanted to be on the radio? Do you have strong opinions or ideas that you think should be heard? Why not host your own radio show right here on the Roar of the Rockies? You'll be on the same station as Brian Kilmeade, Michael Savage, and Alex Jones. You can brand yourself as an expert in your industry and grow your business. Imagine telling your potential clients you have your own radio show. That gives you instant credibility. For more information, call us at 970-587-5003.
Hey, KHNC listeners, Bucky Dillon here. By the way, I just want to let you know, if you're interested in buying or selling real estate, I highly recommend you contact my friend Jerry at SearsRealEstate.com. He's been doing real estate here since like 2005. And you don't just get him, you get the entire Sears Real Estate team, one of the best in the business, looking out for you on one of the most crucial purchases of your life. Don't mess it up. Contact my friend Jerry at SearsRealEstate.com.
Did the insurance company divorce your mountain house? Then call Affordable Tree Service North at 970-568-6898. We have over 50 years combined experience in fire mitigation. Climb, trim, haul your worries away. We know brokers who specialize in mountain property, and we don't hire no snowflakes. Oh, God. Hey, you're not in this commercial. Again, call Affordable Tree Service at 970-568-6898. That's 568-6898.
The Bucky Dillon Show is a Liberty Revolt Media production. www.libertyrevoltmedia.com.
One of the more frustrating and dangerous aspects of one political ideology dominating the media, dominating the cultural media, and dominating as a byproduct of that the narrative is that they can hide their own symbols while pointing to others. I mean, as much as I may personally dislike the Confederate flag, I totally understand that there are people who see that symbol and they don't think of it as, you know, an endorsement of slavery. And I personally know people who wear the rebel flag, you know, have a sticker or a flag in their house or whatever it is, who are absolutely opposed to racism, and they have genuine reasons for supporting that symbol. And at the same time, I mean, Black Lives Matter uses a version of the communist revolutionary fist as their symbol openly, and there's no backlash to it at all because we are so ignorant of world history in this country. You would think that after the hundreds of millions of dead bodies attributed to socialist and communist revolutions around the world, that some of these symbols like the hammer and sickle and the communist fist and all these other symbols would have very powerful negative connotations associated with them. But for some reason, nobody, you know, the narrative that drives the way we interpret optics, it has been tarnished deceptively to fit a particular ideological agenda, and that is unfortunate. I'm absolutely just as offended by the use of the communist revolutionary fist and the hammer and sickle as I am by Nazi swastikas and the Confederate flag. But you know, it is what it is. This is where we're at in their country, and I believe that unifying the country should be our number one priority. And here's the thing. I say over and over that the Democrats were the party of slavery. The Democrats were the party of the South. And, you know, every time I get in that argument, people on the left will say, oh, well, the great switch, blah, blah, blah. Well, nothing legitimizes that great switch argument more than people on the so-called right wing waving the Confederate flag, whether they mean to support the racial elements of that symbol or not. The vast majority of the country sees it that way. And I totally understand why a Black American would be, you know, hurt by that kind of imagery. And I feel like we should focus on unifying the country at all costs, because if there was one issue that is going to tear us apart, it is the racial divides. And that's why the revolutionary types focus on that aspect of our social fabric, because that is where the fabric can be torn. And if they can tear our country apart, I mean, the European financial elite, the bankers, and the people who are pulling the strings in Europe at that time were actively trying to push that issue. They were actively trying to tear the United States in half so that they could reassume colonial control over the United States. That was a big part of what was going on. And from the research that I've done, it appears that those bankers were on the side of the South seceding. So very, very complicated American history, and I certainly could use a better understanding of it, as I think everyone else could. But looking forward, I believe that we need to put unifying the country first, and I think that the optics of the Confederate flag are just too divisive to too many people for some pretty legitimate reasons. And I think it's a counterproductive image for us. So the phone number, 970-587-5171. Call in anytime. I'm on the fence whether I want to spend the rest of the show. By the way, Bill, thanks for calling, man. I'm glad you're hanging around. I'm trying to decide whether I want to spend the rest of the show talking about what I began checking out on the KHNC blog page, or whether I would like to spend the rest of the show talking about politics. Perhaps I could do a little bit of both. I'm going to start with the blog stuff, because I know that the shows following me throughout the day are going to touch on the political issues, and I rely on that a little bit to kind of get away with just exploring ideas for the sake of my own entertainment, because that's where my heart lies. So I check out the blog page on 1360 KHNC, and like I said, we have a wide range of people who contribute, and you too could become a contributor. If you have ideas and you don't want to just put it out there so big tech can shadow ban you and your lefty friends can delete and disparage you, consider becoming a content creator for KHNC. Submit your ideas to us, and some articles, and as long as they're not too offensive or out of bounds, whatever that means, you could be part of taking our culture back and present your ideas to our audience. So that is a pretty cool thing right there. I read this article in the first hour about cloning in America, and I just want to sum it up again for those who are tuning in on the live stream. Cloning in America has been an interest of science for hundreds of years. The first attempts in cloning were seen in 1885 on sea urchins. Cloning comes in many forms. Some instances, clones occur in nature. Is human cloning on the horizon? I would say the answer is yes. I would say it's probably already happening. Ever since the dawn of warfare, civilizations have been trying to figure out how to perfect warfare, and I think human cloning could be a piece of that. Everybody can see that for obvious reasons. Welcome to a galaxy far, far away, ladies and gentlemen. Clones in nature. Clones that occur naturally range from single-cell organisms to identical twins. Organisms such as flatworms reproduce through the process of binary fission. The organism splits apart, creating a clone-like copy of itself, fragmentation. The process of growing a new organism from a separated fragment of the parent organism occurs commonly in starfish. Identical twins are formed when a fertilized egg splits and develops into two organisms who are genetically the same. And what's interesting is because of identical twins, we've been able to see very strong correlations between lifestyle and interests and even product preferences in people like twins separated at birth, who later in life end up using the same toothpaste and stuff. So that's kind of interesting. It does tell us a lot. And obviously we use clones to in agriculture, right? We will cut a branch of a plant off, and then you can some plants such as tomatoes have plenty of auxins, which is the hormone that plants need to start rooting, and other plants like marijuana plants, you actually have to dip in a special solution that soaks the plant in those hormones, and then you can stick it in either a hydroponic setup or in the soil, and hopefully with moisture and the right lighting and time, it'll sprout off and take off. Don't ask me how I know that, but let's just say I'm a big proponent of CBD products. Click the shop button if you're on the KHNC website. Cloning in animals, right? So in 1855, I assume German scientist discovered that he could split two-celled sea urchin embryo, and both cells would develop into the individual organism. In 1996, Dolly the sheep became famous for being the first cloned mammal to be born. And the FDA has deemed meat and milk from cloned animals and their offspring is safe to consume. There are a couple different types of cloning. There's molecular cloning, and then there's therapeutic cloning, and then there's whole cloning or reproductive cloning. So that produces whole organisms. Therapeutic cloning produces stem cells for, like replacing liver. And molecular cloning, well, that's, just makes another copy of DNA essentially. But ever since Dolly the sheep was born, the next logical step after animal cloning was human being cloning. And most people, like 90% of Americans, think that it sounds unethical. But not every country in the world is as hesitant to pursue so-called unethical sciences as the United States. So I started reading an article from sciencefocus.com where it was talking about experiments that have gone on throughout history. Tokyo is bringing mouse human and rat human hybrids to term. At least they've deregulated it. As far as we know, they've been developing mouse human and rat human hybrids close to full term. That there are monkeys with human brain genes. Has it crossed an ethical line? We don't know. Some of the scientists that have been studying human monkey hybrid embryos were doing so in California, but we've restricted funding for that kind of research just because of the ethical qualms about it. And a lot of that research has been outsourced to China. And this kind of goes to a bigger problem, whether it's further developing our ability to extract and process fossil fuels or other scientific endeavors and other initiatives like surveillance and big tech. When we don't do it, that doesn't mean that the world doesn't engage in it. And sometimes your best defense from such things is to be on the front lines of it, is to be leading the pack and guiding it. This was an argument that Google made when Google started working in collaboration with the Chinese government to make Google available in China, but help the government censor what the Chinese people can see and read. Now, you would say, Google? Isn't that an American company? Man, they would never censor opinions that they didn't want you to hear. By golly, that would be un-American. Well, is anybody surprised that Google was like, yeah, well, if, we don't do it, China's just going to, come up with their alternative to us, and then they'll make all the money. At least if we're doing it, maybe we could have some say and some oversight. Give me a break. Google just wants power. They're censoring here too. We all know they're censoring. In fact, there's a big article that came out in Time magazine talking about how the activist left and big tech and big money collaborated to swing the election towards Biden. They're just openly admitting it. They're saying it saved our democracy because Trump was planning all these nefarious ways of throwing the election with misinformation about people like Joe Biden's son, who was definitely not engaged in anything shady. You're listening to the Bucky Dillon Show right here on KHNC.
Hi, folks. This is Terry V. Tune in every Saturday at 2 p.m. to my new show, Terry's Views of the News. The show is about current politics. It's a hard-hitting, truth-seeking, conservative view show. So tune in on Saturdays at 2 p.m. You'll be glad you did.
1360 KHNC is proud to announce our partnership with My Kind CBD, a local Colorado-based company that uses no pesticides, no herbicides, completely organic, no heavy metals. All their products are CAO certified. That's right, independently lab certified. Our prices are the best in the country. Go out to 1360khnc.com and hit the shopping cart button and make your purchase today.
Do you ever wake up and feel like there should be someone to run your errands? We want to get things done, but just don't have enough time. Many of us hire concierge services like dog walkers or food and grocery delivery. Why should your insurance needs be any different? At Badger Insurance Advisors, we act as your concierge for all things insurance, pairing quotes and prices, and recommending the best insurance for your needs. Call or text us today at 303-359-1799 or check us out at badgerinsuranceadvisors.com.
Hi, this is Mike Morris, owner of Warriors Revolution Tactical in Longmont. At Warriors Revolution, we have the largest selection of tactical gear and ammo in northern Colorado. But what many people may not know is that we now sell firearms. And even despite the recent run on firearms and ammunition, we have plenty of product in the store, including ARs, AKs, Glocks, SIGs, HK, and more. And don't forget all the bulk ammunition at the best prices in town. Need to do a private firearms transfer? We can do that too. I am a veteran of the United States Marine Corps, and our team is made up of veterans and security experts, not a bunch of salesmen. Our team is trained and fought with much of the actual equipment we sell. And one thing you should know is that we support the foundations and principles this great country was founded upon. So if you need tactical gear, ammo, firearms, AR parts or upgrades, and even survival accessories, stop by and visit us on Ken Pratt Boulevard and Bowen Street in Longmont, or visit warriorsrevolution.com. That's warriorsrevolution.com.
Chinese state-run media are celebrating the apparent success of Joe Biden and the mainstream news outlets, which act as nothing more than the communications branch of the Democrat Party. Among the many things we are doing to become more engaged in the culture, 1360khnc.com now has a blog page for the sharing of hard-hitting conservative content. Help us break the left's domination of media by becoming a content contributor. Reach out to contact at 1360khnc.com to learn more.
Hey guys, this is Steve from Red Pill Truth, KHNC 1360 AM, Johnstown, Colorado. This show runs Saturdays at 3. We talk about the truths that the mainstream media won't tell you about until they have to. We'll see you Saturday at 3.
Hey, Larry Elder here. Thank you for listening to the Bucky Dillon Show, hosted by the Liberty Revolt and KHNC.
So let me ask you guys a question. Do you believe that there is any moral boundary that the Chinese Communist Party wouldn't cross in order to gain a military or economic advantage over the United States? Of course not. Of course not. They just went through a century of humiliation, and now they are quickly rising to be on top. It is predicted that at this current rate, and this was before the COVID pandemic, at this current rate, it is predicted that China will have an economy at least double that of the United States by the year 2040. Now, I think they're going to be even faster, because I think once now that the left has consolidated power, if the left can be successful in giving themselves a permanent electoral advantage in this country, and they have many things they could do, many things that they could do, kind of see that through. I think we are in big, 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 big trouble. Right? They understand that they absolutely are holding the levers of power in the culture, in the media, with big tech, and that's a big one, and in the government. And here's a few things that they can do to dominate. Number one, give a pathway to citizenship without controlling immigration. And I think this is the reason they don't want operational control of the borders. They're importing new voters. They don't need that many. They don't need that many. If they decide that they're going to do away with the filibuster, they can easily add new states. They assume that Puerto Rico and Washington, D.C. will go for Democrats. Now, hopefully there will be a pushback. I'm hoping in 2 years, I'm praying to God, in 2 years, Republicans can take a few things back. But every 10 years, 2020 being one of those years, this election cycle, this new group will get to redraw districting lines, which essentially means that they will be able to gerrymander the district lines in a way that cuts out gives them an advantage, right? They can extend the urban lines into the rural communities just enough to delegitimize that rural vote without compromising their urban dominance. They could pack the court. Really, just by adding a couple states and importing Democrat voters from south of the border, they can achieve an almost unbeatable permanent majority in this country. And with the policies they're pursuing, Green New Deals and everything, businesses aren't going to stick around. No wealthy business. You know what one of the key advantages to being super wealthy is? You don't have to hang around where people are taking your money. You can afford to move. That's a big part of the reason why everything is manufactured in China and Mexico right now. It's because we pass all these regulations, these worker protections, and I'm for worker protections. Of course, I'm for environmental and worker protections, right? But we have to be globally competitive, because what's the point in passing all of these tax laws for our redistributive schemes and all these protections for workers and everything else if all these wealthy businesses just go to China and then Americans go to Walmart and buy cheap crap from China anyways? China's not implementing any of those policies. So I think they're well on their way, not to mention China is much further ahead in AI, quantum computing, robotics, and all kinds of cutting edge technologies, because we are dumping trillions of dollars into terrible, pointless things. We're crushing jobs and economic activity here, such as the Keystone Pipeline, and sending those jobs and that money to other countries. I think China's going to dominate. I hate to say it, guys, but the world's wealthy elite see it. They're moving to the Chinese currency as the world reserve currency. Big tech, they're catering to China. They know that's the future, right? And they don't care. They don't care. The big tech doesn't care. Big money doesn't care. And China doesn't care. They're going to do whatever it takes to win. They're going to do whatever it takes to get ahead. So when it comes to gene editing technology, how far is too far? And have Chinese scientists been going too far? Well, you tell me. Chinese scientists have been pushing the boundaries most recently by creating rhesus monkeys with a human brain gene linked to intelligence. These experiments were widely criticized, with anthropologist Barbara J. King describing them as an ethical nightmare. This isn't the first time that China's gene editing research has drawn criticism. In November of 2018, He Zhengqia of the Southern University of Science and Technology in Shenzhen announced the birth of 2 babies altered with the gene editing tool CRISPR to give them a natural resistance to HIV. In response, the Chinese government announced tighter regulations on gene editing in human subjects only 3 months later. Now, so much of what China does is they understand optics and they understand how to save face. Almost everything they do is saving face. I follow the Chinese CCTV Plus, which is kind of like their English translated version of CCTV, their state-run news organizations. All of their news organizations are state-run. In fact, I'm taking my my in-laws to Detroit to get them the appropriate COVID testing approved of by the Chinese consulate to send my in-laws back to China. And I told them that while I was out there, I wanted to visit some of the more struggling communities in Detroit and kind of do an investigation into political corruption and maybe try to get some interviews with citizens in Detroit and maybe even try to talk back or push back on some of these politicians. And my mother-in-law asked me, where do you need to go to get a permit? Think about it. A permit to interview people and ask them how policies affected their community.
This is Brad Keselowski, driver number 2, Discount Tire Ford Mustang. Racing fans know that a quick pit stop to check the tires can give me the winning edge. The same is true for your car. Proper tire tread helps keep traction on the road in everyday driving. To check your tread, simply insert a penny, Lincoln's head first, into your tire grooves. If you can see all of Honest Abe's head, it's time to get your tires checked by a professional.
A message from the U.S. Tire Manufacturers Association.
It is not because men have made laws that life, liberty, and property exist. On the contrary, it is because life, liberty, and property existed beforehand that men made laws in the first place. What then is law? It is the collective organization of the individual right to lawful defense and punishing injustice. Frederick Bastiat, The Law.
Hey, KHNC Real Estate. I highly recommend you contact my friend Jerry at SearsRealEstate.com. He's been doing real estate here since like 2005. And you don't just get him, you get the entire Sears Real Estate team, one of the best in the business, looking out for you on one of the most crucial purchases of your life. Don't mess it up. Contact my friend Jerry at SearsRealEstate.com. What's up, KHNC Patriots? Bucky Dillon here. If you're looking for a simple and free way to support the station, check out our Facebook page, facebook.com/1360KHNC. It really does help us reach a broader and a younger audience, help us take our country back. Give it a like, give it a follow, give it a share, invite your friends. You can watch the live streams, you can read the blog, you can share the memes, and you can join the conversation. You can join the fight, facebook.com/1360KHNC.
Great minds think alike. Thank you for listening to the Bucky Dillon Show, hosted by the Liberty Revolt. Join me, Larry Elder, today at 5 on 1360 KHNC. Now back to Bucky Dillon.
But that's how it is in China. You cannot oppose the government. You can't even do something that they might deem a threat to the government's narrative. Right? My mother-in-law asked me where I needed to go to apply for a permit to interview citizens about how government policy has affected their lives. Because in China, you can't do that. You have to get state approval, and they have to approve of what you're doing. And one of the things that they've been doing is from what I've heard, one of the things that they've been doing is shipping out untested vaccinations to countries all around the world, essentially so that they can use it as a photo op to show the Chinese people, oh, look, the president of Pakistan really appreciates us giving them our vaccine. Oh, first train load of Chinese vaccine headed off to Europe now. Oh, look what China's doing for their narrative is that they are saving the world. That's the only narrative. You're not allowed to question the government. You're only allowed to appreciate the government. You must appreciate the government. So, yeah, I'm sure that they passed regulations. You know, China actually has a constitution that declares that the people have all these various rights. It's just not enforced unless you're a member of the Communist Party. And they want to enforce it, right? It's like you have all these rights with a little asterisk, and then at the bottom it just says, depending on, you know, what we think, right? Sometimes, right? In January of 2019, came reports from the Institute of Neuroscience in Shanghai of macaques cloned from a monkey lacking a gene controlling its sleep-wake cycle. With this gene disabled, the monkeys were predisposed to psychiatric disorders, and they displayed anxiety and schizophrenia-like behaviors. Next came the rhesus monkeys carrying a human gene for brain development, created by researchers at Kunming Institute of Zoology. These monkeys developed better short-term memory than their non-altered peers, as well as showing a human-like slower brain development. Research on primates is highly regulated in the UK and Europe, and experiments on them must meet stringent welfare standards. Professor Julian Savulescu, chair in practical ethics at the University of Oxford, believes that these standards should be used as a guide for what can be considered ethical. I think if those standards are being sidestepped, then that's unethical, he said. It is not the experiments themselves that could be considered unethical, but the way that the test subjects are treated. Is it unethical to make an animal more intelligent? Not in itself. He says already mice have been genetically modified to have better memories. It's a question of what those modifications do to the animal's well-being and how that animal is treated. An animal with higher mental capacity also has a greater capacity to suffer if its needs aren't met. As you start to improve or enhance the intelligence or empathy or capacity for social relationships or any property, then there's a corresponding obligation to treat that animal in a way that those capacities are developed and also that they are not associated with the suffering of the animal. How an animal should be treated is not an easy question, especially when it comes to something new, such as monkeys with human brains. One of the challenges is deciding what are the properties that give an animal a moral status equivalent to a human. Then there's a challenge of testing whether a new kind of animal, whether it's being genetically modified or whether it's a chimera, an organism containing multiple sets of DNA, actually has those properties. But as long as they do that under the guise of human progress, there are no such moral boundaries, right? Part of the reason nobody wants to do anything about abortion is because we are making so much progress with stem cell research. And I gotta say, guys, it's one of those very difficult issues. I hate abortion. I absolutely think the pro-life argument is the correct argument. I do believe it's a human life. Now, I think abortion is downstream of some bigger, more necessary cultural problems that we should focus on. But I have to be honest. If my daughter's life was on the line and I had to rely on stem cell research to save her, stem cell research that was largely facilitated by embryonic cells coming from aborted fetuses, I would save my daughter. And I think most people would too. And that's a very, very difficult issue to try to reconcile in my own heart and my own mind. I don't know. What do you guys think? 970-587-5171. Would you use stem cell therapy to rescue the life of your own child or rehabilitate the disability of your own child, knowing and understanding that research was facilitated by abortions? 970-587-5171. You're listening to the Bucky Dillon Show right here on KHNC.
This is Sam Shook, Navy vet and Medicare specialist. I just want to thank the KHNC listeners for their support and trust in me as their Medicare specialist. If you are currently on Plan F, we are in a window of opportunity that can save you a lot of money towards your monthly premium. Please contact me at 970-413-4939. If you are getting into Medicare soon or are already enrolled and have questions, please call me at 970-413-4939. Again, thanks KHNC listeners.
Hi, this is Taylor Grant. I'm a certified personal trainer with the National Academy of Sports Medicine and a longtime competing strongman athlete. I've recently opened a gym here in Loveland, Colorado. The address is 1339 South Garfield Avenue, right next to the Furniture and Decor store. I offer all kinds of services for athletes or people just looking to get in better shape. I coach strongman, powerlifting, general fitness and training, and I work with people with all kinds of injuries as well. I am a private gym, so if you are interested in scheduling a session, please give me a call at 970-402-1330. Once again, that's 970-402-1330, or shoot me an email, and that's at grantperformance1@gmail.com. That's GRANT performance1@gmail.com. Thank you for listening to 1360 KHNC.
The roar of the Rockies. 1360khmc.com has CBD products. Click on the shop button and get yours today.
Just go to 1360khmc.com/shop. The CBD on our website is 99% pure, all natural, no pesticides, non-GMO, is grown organically right here in Colorado, and is 100% THC free. Oh, and did you know ours is the lowest price CBD anywhere in Northern Colorado? For all your CBD needs, just log on to 1360khnc.com/shop.
All of the music for the Bucky Dillon Morning Show was provided by my band, Beer for Bears. Find us on social media by looking for Beer for Bears. One of our listeners, Jason, called to make a point about what I'm talking about here. It looks like the call dropped. Jason, if you call back there, guys, I got to give a shout out to what makes this show possible. Maybe you haven't noticed, but the ideas and the patriotism that we espouse here at KHNC is not broadly popular with the left. And like the Chinese, they will do just about anything to make sure that our voices cannot be heard. You may have caught in the last couple weeks that there was somebody who made a post about us on an app called Nextdoor, which is an app made to notify your neighbors when there's like a serial rapist or something in your neighborhood. And they decided that they would utilize that app to say that we were a violent and cruel radio station. We have received threats both on ourselves individually and threats towards the station itself. There have been instances in the past where we have been vandalized. And I think much of it is unwarranted, but we are under attack. And what makes our show, my show, and KHNC possible is support from our sponsors. You can support us by supporting our advertisers. And it can be little things like purchasing products off the KHNC store. Go to 1360khnc.com, hit the shop button. Not only are those products a great deal for you, not only are they great for your health, and that they're great for your body as a byproduct of being great for your health, it's great for the station. It really does make this possible. We are trying to make more and more investments in our community and in our culture. And we are trying to provide a larger platform for people who have ideas to get out there, because such as the blog page. If you become a blog contributor with us, we are trying to grow our audience so that our audience can have a stronger voice. You can do that by supporting us. My show, The Bucky Dillon Show, is sponsored by Jerry at Sears Real Estate. Right now, it's a great time to purchase real estate because interest rates are so low. And hey, take advantage. If you're on the fence about whether or not you should own property, do a little research. It really is a great investment in your future. Have something that's going to go up in value year after year that you can pass on to your children. You could pass a home down to your children and totally change their lives, right? You could totally change your own life. Right now is a great time to buy real estate. Jerry at Sears Real Estate, man, we thank you. We appreciate you guys. I shared an interview I did with Jerry in the first hour. If in case you missed it, I'll put it up on the KHNC Facebook page again. He's a great guy. He's a friend of mine. You guys could get to know him. And I just want to extend a genuine and sincere thank you to everyone who has supported KHNC over the years and continues to support us. Man, you guys are the best. We love our country. We want to see our country prosper. We want to see all Americans prosper. We're trying to become a place that can help facilitate culture and community right here at KHNC. We're starting a project to where we could host community nights, movie nights, karaoke nights, concerts, comedy clubs, and try to improve the lives of our people and get the message out there. So, you guys make it possible, our audience and our sponsors. We thank you so much. This is the Bucky Dillon Show. I hope to talk to you again.
Have you always wanted to be on the radio? Do you have strong opinions or ideas that you think should be heard? Why not host your own radio show right here on the Roar of the Rockies? You'll be on the same station as Brian Kilmeade, Michael Savage, and Alex Jones. You can brand yourself as an expert in your industry and grow your business. Imagine telling your potential clients you have your own radio show. That gives you instant credibility. For more